Hey everybody, welcome. We're going to be making blueberry scones today. I made these blueberry scones with walnuts. Now I wanted to come up with something really special for Mother's Day, and this is what I came up with. I looked at a ton of different recipes, and I came up with this based on a conglomeration of a bunch of different recipes. So we're going to try to make this thing in a similar way that croissants are made. So what we need to do is get some very high quality butter, which I got here. I have Irish butter, and I got I'm going to cut up about 8 tablespoons of this butter and freeze it. We're going to freeze this butter so we could use it in our recipe. Alright, so we're going to cut this butter up into little tiny pieces. About half of this bar of butter was 8 tablespoons, so I cut it up into little pieces, and I'm going to cut those pieces up into smaller pieces, and I'm going to put those in the freezer to get, ice cold. So that's the way I started this off. And while that butter's freezing, we're going to mix our wet and dry ingredients, and these are some of the ingredients here. Alright, so the very first thing is we're going to take 2 cups of flour and put those cups of flour into a bowl. Okay, and the next thing I'm going to add is a ½ cup of sugar. Now this is organic flour and organic sugar, so it has a little bit of a brown color to it. So I put my sugar in the bowl, and the next thing I'm going to be adding is 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Now it's very important that you make sure your baking powder is not expired, because people have gotten sick on expired baking powder. And I'm adding a ½ teaspoon of baking soda to the dry ingredients, and I'm also going to be adding a full teaspoon of salt to the dry ingredients as well. I'm going to mix that up really well, and on top of that I'm going to have 2 teaspoons of lemon zest. Now I highly recommend you wash your lemon very well before you zest it and use it in any recipe, because of the pesticides and stuff used on things to grow. I'm using organic lemon anyway. Mix the dry ingredients up really well. Alright, in a separate bowl we're going to be mixing our wet ingredients, which is half and half, and sour cream. Alright, so I'm going to take a ½ cup of sour cream, and to that I'm going to add a ½ cup of half and half, and mix that together really well. Alright, so to make these scones, I'm going to take this butter that I've frozen and put it into my dry ingredients, trying to break it up into a lot of little pieces. I'm going to try to just incorporate the butter, flour it up, like that. Alright, next I'm going to add the wet ingredients. Try to get this to come into a nice dough. And the coffee's ready. And this dough is very sticky. So the next thing I'm going to do is basically roll it out onto this board over here with some flour. Let me go wash my hands. And now you're going to flour your work surface and put the dough on your work surface and roll it out with a rolling pin so that it is relatively thin. It was less than a 1/4 inch thin or so, or about a 1/4 inch thin. And then I'm folding it over on itself twice, kind of like a piece of paper that you'd be stuffing into an envelope. And then I'm folding it over again, kind of to make a square. Then I'm putting it on a plate and putting it in the freezer for about 15 minutes. And while it's in the freezer for about 15 minutes, I'm preheating my oven to about 425 degrees. And after your oven is preheated and it's been about 15 minutes, reflour your work surface and put your dough on top of your work surface and roll it out. You can see here that I'm rolling it out relatively thin, similar to what I had before. Now the dough is very sticky still. What we're going to do is I'm going to take these wild frozen blueberries. If you don't have these accessible to you, you can get fresh blueberries and you can freeze them so they're frozen first and easier to work with. Alright, take your blueberries and spread them across the top of your dough and press them in. You could use other berries as well. You could use cranberries and other things like that. I'm also using walnuts and I'm pressing them in as well. Alright, then I'm folding it over again in thirds, one side then the other side, almost like a jelly roll. And I'm pressing it down. After I press it down, I cut it into a bunch of rectangles. And those rectangles I'm going to cut into triangles. And once I cut them into triangles, I'm going to arrange them on a baking sheet. And I arranged them on this baking sheet, which is actually a pizza pan with foil on top of it. And I'm spreading the top, I'm painting the top of each one with an egg wash. And after I paint each one with an egg wash, I'm going to sprinkle some sugar on top of each one and bake it in my oven for about 18 minutes at 425. They'll look golden brown like this. And I have to tell you, these scones came out unbelievable using a croissant building technique. They're just unbelievable. They're flaky and light and delicious, buttery. And you know, it's really a good idea to fold over. And you can see in some of these pictures how I folded over the dough to basically stuff the scone with the blueberries and walnut mixture. These were absolutely outrageous, delicious, and I would highly recommend, if you're going to want to make a scone, you give this one a try. It's an amazing, amazing thing to have for breakfast in the morning, and hope you enjoy. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my video channel here on YouTube, and check out my blog at www.cooking-italian-recipes.com for great Italian recipes, tips on organic gardening, winemaking, and herbalism, and all other kind of fun stuff that I'm into. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, tell your friends. Take care.